Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa. Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama, right here in downtown Northport. I am Joe Gaither, and this is the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. You guys are watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. You're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. We're a proud part of the Bama Central Broadcasting Network. Bama Central, your Sports Illustrated home for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Before we get the day going, we want to encourage you to subscribe and listen to our other Bama Central Broadcasting Network podcast, Blue Collar Unplugged, with Blake Byler, Matthew Gibson, and Jacob Pickle. Those guys handling all things basketball related, and we want you to subscribe to their program because Alabama basketball right around the corner, 53 days away. But we're not here to talk about hoops. We are here to talk about Alabama football. Oh my goodness, what a week it has been. And we appreciate everybody who has watched and joined us this week. We have had a lot of fun on Monday and Tuesday breaking down the Alabama loss to Texas. On Wednesday, we talked to Crimson Tide Sports Network's Roger Hoover, really about that loss to Texas. But we started to move on for our week ahead, or for our day ahead tomorrow, where Alabama is taking on South Florida at 2:30 on ESPN. If you want to hear Roger Hoover and them boys on the call, they're going to start Learfield Sports broadcast at 11:30. You can find that on all the Crimson Tide Sports Network affiliates. And then yesterday we talked to some members of the $1 Million Band. We had Ansley Bowles and we had Brady Mitchell joining us yesterday to let us know everything that goes into the $1 Million Band. Today we are fully focused on the South Florida Bulls. We're going to go down to SoFloBulls.com and welcome in to a writer from SoFloBulls.com, maybe two writers from SoFloBulls.com, and we're going to have a lot of fun breaking down the South Florida Bulls. Basically, they have turned over an entire roster. They have turned over a coaching staff, and we're going to find out everything we need to know about the South Florida Bulls. So join me and join us on the comment section at Joe Gaither 6 on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can find me on all the social media outlets at Joe Gaither 6. And so we will find out all about the South Florida Bulls with Josh Katz to get it going. Josh Katz, you can follow him on the Twitter machine at JKatz0, writer for SoFloBulls.com. Make sure you check out his work at SoFloBulls.com. He is a South Florida alum. Thank you so much for joining me today, Josh. How are you doing? And I hope you're doing well.
I am doing well, Joe. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I really appreciate you carving out some of your time. I know it's a very busy week and busy time always on the Friday before a home game. So I
Oh,
really
yeah.
appreciate you giving me some of your time today. How has the week gone over in Tampa?
Week's been going pretty well. I'm a little under the weather today, actually, so I'm working from home. So I was able to carve out a couple minutes to hop on here. Uh, Nice and sunny here in Tampa, Florida. I think it's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow for the Bulls to host the Crimson Tide. Um, might rain tomorrow, from what I heard. So might be a little gloomy tomorrow, but I'm sure it'll be a blast either way.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to being a part of it. We're sending down Katie Wyndham, Blake Byler, Matthew Gibson, and Will Miller. So we'll have four writers. I was going to say guys, but no, Katie Wyndham is her own woman. We're going to have four writers in the press box tomorrow. Looking forward to their coverage. You guys can follow it at BamaCentral.com. And if you want the opposite perspective, you can follow it at SoFloBulls.com. Really a brand new team for South Florida this year. A lot of brand news. South Florida started 1-1, and you're breaking in a new coach, a coach that Alabama fans are familiar with, Alex Golesh, the Vols, former Tennessee Vols offensive coordinator. First, I want to just throw you an easy one. What's been, obviously, we'll get into the personnel and the transfer portal and everything that's turned over on the roster. But after you fired Jeff Scott last year in his tenure, you bring in Alex Golesh. What's been the biggest difference that you have noticed between Jeff Scott and Alex Golesh, maybe from a philosophical standpoint or just as a mindset standpoint? What's been the biggest difference that you've noticed between the two coaches?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good one. I think Alex Golesh is a huge, huge motivator. I don't think it really matters where you came from. I don't think it matters if you were already a starter or you just came in as a transfer. He's going to give everybody the opportunity to be that guy. And I think the players love him. Not to say the players didn't love Coach Jeff Scott. I've met him a couple times. He was a really great guy. But I'm hoping Golish was the right hire. And from what I'm hearing, he's people love him, the players love him, the staff really likes him as well.
Well, that's really exciting, and really, Alabama fans will remember him for directing the Tennessee offense last year that beat Alabama up there in Neyland Stadium. And we've heard Nick Saban talk a lot about the fastball offense and how it's going to be a good test for Alabama, and we're going to kind of play, the 11 that's on the field are going to have to play. South Florida 1-1 to get rolling. You lost to Western Kentucky 41-24. You beat Florida A&M last week 38-24. Really, obviously, with a lot of new faces and new coaching staff, you're going to have a little bit of time to integrate things. But just how do you think the first 2 weeks have gone for the South Florida Bulls?
I think they were really exciting. Obviously, nobody likes a moral victory week one, but if you told me a year ago that we would be in a dogfight with Western Kentucky, quarterback Austin Reed they have there is insane. I know their starting receiver Malachi Corley went down with an injury early on, but if you told me a year ago we'd be in a dogfight with them at this point, I would have called you crazy. And that was our first game under this new coaching staff. So the fact that we were able to see that much improvement from the offense, from the defense, especially the secondary and the defense, was astonishing to me. I loved it. Obviously, they were able to get their first win this past week against FAMU. Coach Golish's first home game as the Bulls' head coach. But it's been really exciting, seeing quarterback Byron Brown sling it, run it. He can do it all. And to remind you, I'm not quite sure when his birthday is, but he's still 18. He hasn't even turned 19 yet, so he is a starting D1 quarterback. He's not even 19 years old. Kid is amazing, and he has a lot of weapons. Great deep running back room, really nice and new and improved receiver room. And I'm really excited to see, where the next games go.
Well, yeah, you hit on Byron Brown, and that's a good little place to move into next. We've got you really had he started two games last season. He started 2 games at the end of the last season, and he maintained his red shirt, so he was able to kind of keep that extra year of eligibility. You talk about dual threat, and really he's had a nice little start to the season. He's thrown for right at almost 400 yards. He's run for almost 200 yards as well. Put in 8 touchdowns to two turnovers. So really, how do you think that he's going to look? Last week, Alabama played pretty, I don't know, pretty soft up front. They played a lot of coverage. They only rushed 3, only rushed 4, trying to contain the Texas offense. How do you think he's going to manage with a huge step up in competition? You've got Western Kentucky, then you have FAMU. Basically, now you're stepping into really the big leagues. How do you think he's ready or prepared to play against this Alabama defense?
I obviously don't know Byram. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but in my mind, he's not looking at it as the number 10 team in the country. It's next on the schedule. You have to face them either way. I think he's going to be looking to elevate himself in a way that he has to be incredibly aware of everything, of Alabama's defensive backs, of Alabama's front seven coming at him nonstop for 4 quarters. It's not going to stop the whole game. That is one of the best teams in the country. They're not going to stop all game. He might get knocked down. You just got to come back. It's the way you come back from getting knocked down. I think it's going to be exciting. I think we're going to see a lot of great things out of him.
Well, I think we're going to have a fun game, and really, there's going to be some tests for the Alabama defense, especially with that speed and with getting ready to getting up to the offensive line, running plays quickly. How do you think that the South Florida team has embraced the Alex Golesh style and embraced the fast paced and getting up to the line? And look, last year Tennessee ran really the fastest offense in college football, snapping the football really with 25, 24, 26 seconds on the play clock over and over and over again. How is South Florida really taken his approach, taken Alex Golesh's approach, and implemented it so far?
I think they've already embraced that. He obviously runs a very fast offense. And that being said, if you look back at last week's game, USF was on their third drive with 7 minutes left in the first quarter, and they weren't struggling at all. They were fast paced, they were keeping up, and they were able to use that advantage and tear apart FAMU.
We're joined by Josh Katz and Matt Manuri of SoFloBulls.com. Matt jumping in and joining us, the owner and
Absolutely.
founder of SoFloBulls.com. Thanks so much for joining us. I know you've had a
Absolutely.
heck of a travel week. Have you made it down to Tampa successfully?
I have safely, thankfully. Yeah, I'm just actually working out of my buddy's office. But a very good point that Josh was making there is the O line has been very impressive with being able to be on the ball without the penalties. So I mean, there have been some setbacks penalty wise, but it's been very impressive the shape that they've been in and how quickly they're on the ball.
Matt, we kind of just hit, but just early on, Alex Golish and his new tenure. What's the excitement level after getting rid of Jeff Scott? Obviously, not so hot. We're going 1-11, and I think he only had a 2-win season a couple of times. What's been the excitement level moving from Jeff Scott to Alex Golish, the hotshot offensive coordinator from the Tennessee Vols?
So I'm gonna be honest with you. It's been a very tough go from Charlie Strong to Jeff Scott era. It's been a long probably 6-7 years. So the fan base is excited, but they want to see it. And I really think that, Alex has really shown what he's going to do, what he's about, and you can already see it on the field. I've seen more from his coaching style than I saw in Jeff Scott in 3 years. So I mean that says everything.
Elaborate that. When you say you've seen more from his coaching style, are the players more motivated, more prepared, or is there a better plan to attack the opposition? What's been the biggest difference from Jeff Scott to Alex Golish, in your opinion?
Attitude, preparation, expectations that are real that you have to live up to, or else you're gone. I mean, this is high quality football. I mean, you can go play somewhere else that's not D1 and do that, and that's kind of how it felt under Jeff Scott. Alex is not playing any games. He wants to do everything perfectly. He wants to follow all the rules, set a standard, and stick to it. And I think it's really important, especially when you're coaching, young adults, 18 to 22-year-old, that need direction and examples of how they should and should not be. And that goes through from the locker room to how they do in school to their personal life and into their futures in their careers.
Josh, we're thinking about it really when Alex Golish gets into South Florida. He has a huge task, obviously taking over a roster this 1-11. Well, the roster got flipped completely over. I've got 20. Where's my transfer? 25 transfers, and I think you guys put in 56 new players on the South Florida roster. So, Josh, how would you say he's managed or worked out the transfer portal? I mean, Colorado getting a lot of attention for what they did in the transfer portal. Florida State as well with some of their receivers. What's been your favorite? Obviously, you have Naquan Wright from Florida, but what have been some of your other favorites or some of your most important transferees that have come into Tampa?
I think my favorite transfer that has come in is cornerback Braxton Clark, right out of Nebraska. He is a huge person. He is 6'4", I think, 200 pounds. He has had more tackles this season in 2 games than he had all last year at Nebraska. And I think it really just shows that if you're willing to work, Coach Golish is going to give you the job. And I think Clark is the perfect example for that. So I really liked what he's done so far.
And Josh, just to kind of piggyback,
Please.
He also is the best player is playing. So under Jeff Scott, what it felt like is he'd sell a story to all these transfers and just plug them in. No, he's not doing that at all. Whoever's the best player at the spot will play.
Absolutely.
Well, Matt, what did you notice? Josh already kind of hit on the first 2 games of the season, losing to Western Kentucky and winning against FAMU. But really, after the first 2 weeks, you're working in a lot of new faces and new coaches, and everything's kind of new. So what was your impression of the start, and how do you think the future is going to go? Obviously, Alabama game kind of aside, what do you think the future of the South Florida program or kind of the goals of this year's team will be?
I think the goal of the entire season should be continual growth. Game by game basis, seeing growth, more maturity, more improvement. And I think we've seen that in the first 2 games. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to come out and beat Alabama, but I don't think that you're going to see the same squad that you've seen the last 3 years that are just going to give up and roll over. I mean, there was 2 openers against one against Wisconsin and the other against BYU that were horrible. I mean, Jonathan Taylor ran for like 1 billion yards, like 1 billion. At halftime, I wanted to go home. I mean, it was bad. I don't see that kind of attitude on the field whatsoever. I see a fight, and I see a team reflecting the attitude of the coaches, which I love.
Well, that's really exciting because Alabama is going into the game this weekend as a 33-point favorite. And everybody in our neck of the woods is basically saying, oh, bounce back game for Bama. Everybody's mad. You're going to cover easily. It's going to be a blowout. And I certainly buy into that to a small degree. But I wonder, really, when I look at Alabama's problems from the last 2 weeks, really, as far as line play and kind of execution and consistency, I wonder if that 33-point margin is going to be too large to overcome. Most of my staff members, most of my team members are basically taking Bama minus the 33. What Josh, we'll start with you. What do you think that's? Do you think that line is disrespectful or too much on Alabama's? They're a big brand. What's your opinion of kind of the national perception of what this game's going to be?
Yeah, I don't think minus 33 is disrespectful. Like, I get it. We won a single game last year. At the same time, Alabama looking to bounce back. Is it really considered bouncing back if they're playing a team that was the worst team in the country last year? So that I really don't understand. I think minus 33 is not going to hit. I think USF covers, and it's going to be a lot slimmer than 33. No, I'm not saying it's going to be 3 or 7,
Sure.
but it could be 21. It could be 17. I think it's going to be competitive. I think we're going to shock a lot of people.
Matt, do you feel like the line is or the national perception of this game is maybe a little out of whack?
Just look at the Middle Tennessee game. If you look at the stat lines, at first I was like, oh, Texas, and then wait. So I just think the perception is that it's going to basically come in and just mop the floor. That's not going to happen. I don't see that. I could see 24, but the defense is going to play. If it rains, it's going to slow everyone down, and we're not slow already. And if anyone comes in kind of lax, because I've seen it over the years. Especially when we have some very good teams under Willie Taggart, we come in kind of soft and overlook the opponent, eat too much Gaither. Yeah, I saw that too. It can catch you.
Well, and Alabama, everybody knows Alabama has Ole Miss on the schedule next week, and really the focus is going to be on the SEC schedule after losing to Texas. You got to go through the West and win the West if you want to claim all the goals. Matt, you hit on the defense. You said the defense is going to play, and Josh already talked about the Nebraska transfer. The defense only bringing back two starters from last season. Todd Orlando is a new defensive coordinator, but a very, very experienced as a defensive coach. For people who haven't seen the first 2 weeks of South Florida, what kind of system is Todd Orlando running for the Bulls?
So for me, to be honest with you, I think where it actually starts is on the line. So Kevin Patrick is back, and he's a old school USF guy, and that changes everything. So our entire program was built on tough defense. That's how we were good in the past, all the way back when we had all the crazy teams, and I was a student still. It was all about defense. Everyone was going to the NFL and about being tough. And I think that's what we're starting to see. And it's happening each and every week. And now that's going to happen and catch up with us in the linebacking group soon. Because I'm going to be honest, the defense was hit or miss, but there was enough bright spots where everyone was covering. So essentially my point is they're mixing in everybody, and they've been switching the scheme a bit. I like that. I like coaches that adapt to their players actively during games and make switches. And if someone's not playing well, they move into a different spot or put someone in and start rotating. The blitzes have been great. Coverage had lapses here and there, but it is like, first year again. A lot of these guys have had 3 coaches.
Well, Josh, the blitz.
They're still half the roster,
Yeah, if the blitzes are getting home, that's going to be a little bit of a problem for the Alabama offensive line. Texas really taking it to them, and MTSU getting home a couple of times in the first week as well on the blitz. What's your thoughts about the USF defense?
I think the USF defense is probably the most explosive defense I've seen in the last 4 or 5 years. They brought in University of Florida transfer and Lloyd Summerall, who I think is pretty local to USF. I don't think he's had the craziest impact so far. Not to say it's not going to come. I think he's definitely somebody to watch out for. Obviously, he's from the SEC. He knows Alabama. I think he's going to be looking to show that he did belong in the SEC, and he's looking to run the defense here. That being said, is Jalen Milroe starting at quarterback, or I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of who they said could be starting. Is he going to be ready
Buckner.
for that defense? Right, Tyler Buckner.
Yeah, there's been lots of rumors this week that Tyler Buckner's taking snaps with the ones. Now that's not a rumor, that's a fact, but it's going to
Okay.
be interesting to see whether it was a 50-50 split or just giving Buckner some run, and who's going to be leading the offense going tomorrow. I expect honestly both quarterbacks to get run tomorrow. I think the big conversation is who's starting, and you're seeing lots of noise lately that Buckner's going to be the first quarterback out there. I'm not as thrilled about that. I'd like to see more changes along the offensive line. If changes along the offensive line happen, then I think whoever's playing quarterback is going to be almost irrelevant because, oh gosh, the line was brutally bad in the first week or in the second week and just average in the first week. Let's talk about Raymond James. Alabama's playing in Raymond James Stadium for the first time since 2016, losing to Clemson, walking off a loser in the national championship game. So a lot of Alabama fans haven't been back to Tampa since then, and maybe you're going to see a lot of new Alabama fans in the stadium tomorrow. What's going to be their experience like? NFL Stadium, you got the pirate ship. Josh, what's your take and what's your feel on Raymond James Stadium?
Obviously, I'm a big believer in the on-campus stadium, which we should be getting in 2026. That being said, there's going to be 70,000 fans screaming and cheering tomorrow. I don't think you can get that at any other school in the American Athletic Conference, whether it's all Alabama fans tomorrow and not many USF or completely the other way around. I think the USF fans are really excited, going to show out tomorrow. That's probably the craziest atmosphere to me is that I can sit in a college stadium, not a college stadium, and there's 70,000 fans around me. Like, we're not at Ohio State. We're not at UF. We're not at Alabama. We're here in Tampa, Florida, at the University of South Florida. That's what I love about Raymond James Stadium.
Matt, anything unique that Alabama fans need to be looking for? I mean, obviously the pirate ship stands alone and everything. But anything unique about Raymond James that people should be looking for or noticing?
I mean, it's an amazing venue. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I'm all about on-campus stadium. I'm all for it. But the amenities are insane. I mean, it's one of the best in the country by far. All the food's great. All the service is great. If you get into the club, that's wonderful too. I think it's just like a top-notch venue. I mean, like everywhere that you sit, it's a great view. I mean, it's just a nice place. I've been coming here. Let me see. I've been covering since 2014. And I've been to a lot of NFL stadiums too. Man, it's a nice place to come. Even tailgate, set up, huge party, the whole nine.
From our end, I think a lot of people are excited about easy parking lots and parking decks. So I
Big
think that's
party area.
I think that's been the biggest talking point that I've heard is, oh, we're not going to have to park miles away from the stadium, this, that, and the other. So I think a lot of people are really
Get
excited.
there early.
Yeah,
Get there
it's gonna be
early.
fun. It's gonna be a blast. Let's keep it rolling. We're talking to Josh Katz and Matt Manuri of SoFloBulls.com. Make sure you check them out at SoFloBulls.com. You can follow them on Twitter at JCat0 and at McNurkle on the Twitter machine and at SoFloBulls on the Twitter machine. Gonna have a lot of coverage on the game tomorrow. Our guys and girls will have a lot of coverage at Bama Central as well. You can follow us at Bama Central on the X machine, and we'll have a lot of reporters in the booth tomorrow as well. So Alabama and South Florida signed a very unique contract. Alabama tried to do a little bit more home-and-home non-conference games, no more of this neutral site games to get season started. What's been the South Florida feel of, oh, we're signing a 2-for-1? Yes, you get Alabama coming to Tampa for one season, but you're going to take 2 road trips to Tuscaloosa. I think it's 2024 and 26 as well. Hopefully you guys will make the trip up to Tuscaloosa and we'll be able to host you very kindly. What's your Matt, we'll start with you. What's your opinion of the 2-for-1 contract and how it really works for the USF athletic department?
Well, if you'd have told me five years ago that Bama was going to come in and play game 1 at Ray J, I'd have laughed in your face. I think it's awesome. I mean, it's helpful for Bama to come here and recruit, as we know. Top shelf in the country is Florida. South Florida has the best, talent by far. I think it's wonderful. The atmosphere is going to be electric. I can't wait to go to Tuscaloosa. I've never been there. Next season. I think as teams start to explore the area and try to come to Florida and recruit and try to get more involved, I think it's really important to have an impact and be there. That's why neutral site games don't really help recruiting because everyone's traveling. There's no home experience. So I did see that Florida State's on Bama's future schedule too, right?
Yes,
See,
they are.
that's another one. I wouldn't be surprised to see them get the Canes on there and go down to Miami. That's smart too. I mean, there's a lot of parity right now in college football due to the NIL. So things have kind of switched up recruiting wise. I mean, Saban had Southeast Florida wide receivers coming directly to Bama like a pipeline. Like they hop on a boat and you just skip the entire panhandle of Florida. No Gators, no Knowles, just right to Bama for years. I mean, for years, from like the Jerry Judy's to who else?
Amari Cooper, Calvin
Yeah, I mean
Ridley.
the list is so long, and I think that's going to be the biggest impact is that as these conferences keep switching, recruiting, everyone tries to recruit so hard in Florida that the impact of being there in person and meeting with parents and all of that, I think is going to pay dividends, and it's great. It's great exposure for us too, for our brand, ABC, 3:30 Eastern, huge crowd. I mean, it's a win-win, I think.
Josh, how far is I looked on a map last night just because I was writing a piece for BamaCentral.com about the recruiting impact of this game and really just of the scheduling philosophy. IMG looks like it's right across the bay. Was that a failure on my map reading, or how close is IMG?
IMG is probably a little over an hour over down there in Bradenton. Not too far.
Well, how excited are you to have a 2-for-1 come to Tuscaloosa twice and really just have Alabama fans kind of crash Tampa for a little bit?
I think it's super exciting. I actually never really read into, the whole USF has the first home game, but I think it is kind of interesting that, Alabama could use it as a recruiting trip. Their number one signee from this past class, Des Ricks, IMG Academy, cornerback. He's electric. So they're not going to stop there. They never have. They love recruiting in Florida, like you said. Jerry Judy, Calvin Ridley.
Skill players for days.
I can name 700 more. But I think it is important that they were able to get the first game down here. USF probably looked at it as, okay, cool. That's cool. But I think it's important for Alabama as well. They're probably going to take advantage of being in the state.
So one comment.
Yeah, please.
Just one comment. I think this is really cool that the last game that Bama played at Legion Field in Birmingham was against us in 2003. And now their first change really and, switched up is with us again. So in 2023. So I think that's pretty cool.
I love the new philosophy. So Alabama went out to Texas last year, then hosted Texas. Going to South Florida this year, and then we're hosting South Florida twice. You're going to Wisconsin next year, then you host them. You're going to Florida State, and then you host Ohio State, and then you host them. Notre Dame. So there's a great home and home schedule going forward for Alabama fans to really experience college football. I mean, look, it's been cool going to Atlanta. It's been cool going to Dallas for these neutral site games. We had Louisville at Camping World Stadium as well in Orlando one year. So that's been cool. But as a college football fan, I love and I'm so excited about going to see the true home and home experiences of these future schools. And you hit on IMG, you could go down to who's who. J.C. Latham to Tyler Booker. You have Evan Neal. A lot. It's been just like the pipeline from South Florida. Bradenton at IMG has been a huge supplier of the Nick Saban dynasty. Tell us about Naquan Wright. Naquan Wright, leading running back so far, transferred from Florida, just like the defender that you mentioned earlier, and 26 carries already, about 150 yards, and a couple of receptions through the first 3 games. What's going to be his impact on the game tomorrow, and do you think that he can really, carry the load for South Florida? Either of you, Matt, you want to start? Yeah, please.
I mean, I think he's a special player. I mean, he even started in the spring game from the very start, and I do understand that it's just a spring game. But it's all about mentality, right? It's how you treat everything. Some people can come in. It's kind of like the preseason in the NFL. Some guys play hard and some don't. I mean, that's just how it is. I think he has a worker mentality. He has every tool in the set. I think the running game might have a little bit of a struggle getting it going. But if the passing game, gets going, he can get going too. I mean, he has a good burst. I mean, he'll beat you to the outside too. He can run with toughness, and I mean, he has a lot of agility.
So Josh, what do you outside of Byron Brown, and what do you think who do you think is going to be kind of the impact players on the South Florida Bulls offense? Naquan Wright, or maybe someone else, or you want to expound on Wright, whatever you like.
I think Wright is probably the most balanced running back we've probably seen in the last couple of years. He can run, he can catch, he'll mow you over, he'll slip inside. That running back room is very deep. I think we're going to see a lot of different players back there, from Kelly Joyner to Kawan Powell. But I do think Naquan will get the workload tomorrow. Another player I do want to touch on, he's probably one of the tallest and most athletic players on the team, Jason Littlejohn, tight end.
Yes.
He scored last week. He's a monster. He is ginormous, and I think he could be a real threat tomorrow.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be 2:30 on ABC. Everybody can follow SoFloBulls.com for the South Florida perspective and BamaCentral.com for the Alabama perspective. I'll send Katie and Austin over to say hello, hopefully, to you guys. What's something like a lot of our team right now is in Orlando experiencing Disney World. But Alabama fans are going to be arriving, right now and all the way through the day tomorrow and mid-afternoon game. So there's going to be plenty of time in the evening to get into Tampa. Many people may not be leaving until Sunday. What are some of your favorite things if people haven't been to Tampa so far? Josh, you're a South Florida graduate, so you've been there, done that. Same with Matt as well. Both been there, done that. What are some of your favorite highlights of Tampa that maybe some Alabama fans need to be looking for? Either on the high-end budget, low-end budget, or anywhere in between? Because you're going to get a lot of different Alabama fans in Tampa.
I think there's a lot of good options here. We're right on the water. If you're looking for somewhere to kick it on the water, have a couple drinks, if you're legal, make your way over to Whiskey Joe's over here on the Courtney Campbell Causeway. I live right across the street from it. It's a blast. There's an outdoor deck. They have inside seating. The drinks are good. You got to get the Gaither bites. They're delicious. If you're looking for food, I would check out Armature Works closer to downtown Tampa. It's a huge food hall. And upstairs, they have a rooftop bar. It's called M-Bird. I would check it out. Real good drinks, real good food up there. The food hall down below, they have anything from Chinese food to Greek food, tacos, pizza. And it's right on the water as well. It's right on the Hillsborough River. There's a couple bars outside as well. I think that's a really cool place that I know I enjoy.
Absolutely. Matt, do you have any other suggestions or any other thoughts on what to do in Tampa outside of the game time?
So if you're going to go eat, I'm going to have two that are just my favorites. I went to school here, and I just know the area. So the Columbia restaurant is one of the oldest known in Ybor City. If you haven't been, it is a unique experience that you cannot get anywhere else. One of my personal favorite spots, just to have tacos and have drinks, is Miguel's, which is on Kennedy. Smaller spot, but extremely good. Get the margaritas.
There we go. Well, Alabama fans travel, and so you're going to have get ready to see an influx of crimson and white, and they're going to be all looking for something to do and places to go. So hopefully they'll either be celebrating a win or drowning their sorrows. Last week with Alabama, we left the stadium, and a lot of people went straight home, and it was the Texas people celebrating here at the Strip. You got you got a pretty nice schedule going forward, and you haven't played any American Conference games yet. So based off what you've seen so far through the first 2 weeks, and really the excitement with first-year coach Alex Golesh, Matt, what's your expectation for this team in the American Conference?
I mean, this has been my statement the entire time. 6 wins. Just get to a bowl game. This team needs to get back to bowl games. It's so important for the exposure, for recruiting. I mean, just for the brand, being on TV still when other teams are not, being part of that entire ordeal would really kind of revive our fan base, who's been kind of dragged through the mud. I mean, it's been really tough when you win one game, 2 games, 4 games. It's a lot. I mean, 4-29. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard sell, But I really think it's realistic. I think 6 wins are doable, and I think that should be the goal.
Josh?
Yeah, I'm pretty in line with that. Get that bowl game. The last time this team had a bowl game was 2018. I was 18 years old, a freshman in college. Our quarterback was former Bama quarterback Blake Barnett.
Woo, don't say that name.
Tell us about it. Sorry, Blake.
Shout out, Blake. Love you, Blake.
We love you too.
the Bulls need to get back to a bowl game. I think that is super crucial for recruiting and really just morale in that athletic department. Really just see the program on the right path.
Well, I've had a lot of fun talking to Josh Katz and Matt Manuri of SoFloBulls.com today. Make sure you follow them at McNurkle and at JCat0 at SoFloBulls on the Twitter machine. Is there anything that we haven't hit on that's important for to talk about that Alabama fans need to know, or really just neutral fans need to know about this matchup? Josh, I'll start with you, and Matt, we'll go to you next and kind of wrap this bad boy up. Any thoughts on the game that we haven't hit on, or things that we need to know about South Florida that you think is really important?
I think we definitely touched on a lot. I'm trying to
Sure.
think if there's anything we might have missed. There's nothing I can.
I got
think
one
of.
item for you.
Yeah,
Just
go for
one.
it.
All right. Tampa, Florida is the DUI capital of the United States,
Ooh.
basically. So do not drive. They have a huge DUI task force. This is what they're known for. You better Uber. You better not get caught driving around because you will be in Hillsborough County Jail.
That is
I promise.
great
That's
PSA.
a fair warning.
That is a great and timely PSA. Dude, Uber is easy. Lyft is easy. Please take advantage of that. Enjoy the weekend. Everybody needs to enjoy the weekend, but please enjoy it responsibly. Getting down to Raymond James Stadium, flying in, flying out, whether you're driving in, driving out, you don't want to be in jail because you need to drive back home all the way on Sunday. That's going to be important. Matt Manuri and Josh Katz joining us from SoFloBulls.com. I really appreciate both of your time today. It's been a blast talking to you guys, and I hope that I'll send our Bama Central team over to say hello. You guys can follow them at JCat0 and at McNurkle on the X Machine, and make sure you're following SoFlo Bulls as well for the South Florida perspective. You're going to want to hear what Alex Golich said after the game about Alabama, and you're going to want to really kind of follow them the rest of the year because Alabama hopefully might be a quality win if South Florida can continue to can continue the upward trend. We'll get you out of here on this. Both of you said that you thought that South Florida is going to cover, and I think that might be. I think that's right. What do you think is going to? We'll nail you down on a final score if you have one for each of y'all.
Oof.
I got you. 55-28.
55-28 Alabama, but it's going to be a fun game. I like that.
I'm going to go with a more narrow one. 42-20, Alabama.
Oh, I think. Oh, Josh, I like that. I think that's the. I think that's right around the. I haven't. I guess I need to nail mine down by this time. I think it's. Yeah, Alabama's defense is going to give up some plays. Oh, you're probably going to score a lot. Josh, I think you might have nailed it. I think that's probably going to be.
What was the over under too? I think it was.
Let's see.
60,
I don't have over under.
Is that right?
It is.
I'm taking the over on that one.
The over-under is 61. Exactly. Yes, 61.
Over on that one.
I'll go over as well.
Spread, I don't know, but the over-under sounds pretty good.
Absolutely. Guys, enjoy your time. Thank you so much for joining me today. And please, we'll send everybody over your way to follow you at McNurkle and at JCat0 and at SoFloBulls.com. I appreciate your time, guys. I hope you have a great weekend and enjoy yourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. That's Matt Manuri and Josh Katz joining us from SoFloBulls.com, and I really appreciate getting the other side's perspective. We've done that each and every week with MTSU and with Texas. And I think it's really important. Look, we haven't played South Florida, just like Matt has said. We haven't played South Florida since we were playing home games in Legion Field. So it's been a hot minute since you looked at South Florida. I know a lot of you heard about Nick Saban talking about the Tennessee scheme, and maybe that made you a little bit nervous. Hopefully our conversation today set a little bit of that at ease. I think South Florida is breaking in new players in the transfer portal, new coaches, and some of that newness is going to probably bleed through the game, and Alabama will ultimately win the ball game. I like Josh's score. He said 42-20. Oh, I like Josh's score because I think Alabama's going to score. I do. But I think Alabama's going to give up some plays as well on the defensive end. Obviously, the talent will shine through, and I don't think this is going to be I don't think it's going to be a nerve-wracking game for all the Alabama fans. Hope you're going to get down there and enjoy Tampa. All right, so we're going to get out of here. We're going to wrap this bad boy up. I hope you guys have had a great week. I've had a great week with you guys. I really appreciate Roger Hoover joining me on Wednesday. I really appreciate our $1 Million Band members joining me on Thursday at Ansley Bowles and Brady Mitchell. If you want to hear what it takes to get into the $1 Million Band and how hard they work, their summers are literally brutal, just like the football team. Their summers are brutal. You can see that episode on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, anywhere you get your podcast. Of course, we're always on BamaCentral.com. I wrote a piece about the Alabama recruiting philosophy of this weekend's game. Nick Saban shifting his recruiting philosophy from neutral site games to home and home matchups, both for the fans, but really for his recruiting base to kind of impact some of these recruiting hotbeds like South Florida, like Tallahassee, like middle of Ohio for Columbus. You're going to go up to Indiana. You got the guys in Chicago. It's going to be a great handful of years. The next 11 years, Alabama has a great home and home schedule going forward. So we're going to follow that. Now, give you a little update. We have done picks each and every week on Football Friday. And obviously, Austin Hannity and Katie Wyndham are in Disney World. I didn't want to bother them. They're hanging out with Mickey Mouse. They're going around Epcot. They're riding Space Mountain, and I hope they're enjoying themselves before they get back to work tomorrow. Austin Hannon and Katie Wyndham both sent me their picks. Bama covers was their pick. Austin is 2-0. Katie is 1-1. I am 1-1. I took Texas last week. Oh, my gosh. Now that we're down to it, I'm going with Bama covers as well. I think 42-20 is about right, but give me what's 30? Oh, 17 plus 30 is 40 something. Yeah, give me 48-17. That should put me at my 33 points, right? Is that my quick math? 48 and 17, 48, 17, that's 1, and that's 31. Oh, that means a USF cut. I'm going USF. I'm taking USF plus the 33. I just can't do it. I can't get the 33 points out of my score. So I'll go the opposite way. We'll have Katie Wyndham, Austin Hannon on Alabama. We'll have myself on USF. Alabama easily wins, but that 33-point margin, pretty darn large. Obviously, Alabama holding MTSU to just 7 points in the first week. I think it's going to be a little bit different than MTSU, but it's going to be a fun game. And look, you guys are going to want to watch it 2:30 on ABC. You can listen to it on Crimson Tide Sports Network with our man Roger Hoover. Let him know that you are happy to have him on the program at Roger_Hoover. And we're going to get out of here. Look, tomorrow is going to be a great day. You can follow it all at Bama Central. We got many people, Blake Byler, Matthew Gibson, and Will Miller. Will Miller and Matthew Gibson are making the drive right now. Everybody else was driving down yesterday, so it's going to be a great weekend at BamaCentral.com. Follow us at Bama Central. Our man Chris Walsh at Riding Walsh. And that's going to do it for our show today. We'll be back next week. Oh, my gosh, next week. Oh, the nerves already hitting Ole Miss. Coming to town, Lane Kiffin, Pete Golding on deck. Pete Golding trying to get his name back. Coming to Tuscaloosa. And that's going to be a blast to play tomorrow. Look, the big question mark is going to be Tyler Buckner or Jalen Milroe. How do we divide up the quarterback room tomorrow? Will Buckner start? You're hearing lots of rumors that Buckner's going to start. I don't know if I love that. I really think last weekend's debacle was along the offensive line mostly and along the defensive line mostly rather than Jalen Milroe. But everything is under scrutiny. Maybe we'll see a new left guard. Right guard, Darian Dalcourt, right guard. Maybe we'll see a new right guard. Hopefully we'll see better snapping issues out of Seth McLaughlin. And the offensive line will be able to assert its dominance tomorrow against South Florida. But you got to basically take everything with a grain of salt tomorrow because the competition steps up tremendously the week after with the Ole Miss Rebels. And we'll cover it right here at Bama Central and BamaCentral.com. I hope you have a great week. Tell a friend about the program. Share it on your social medias. You can find me at Joe Gaither6. Send me your comments, questions, queries, and complaints at Joe Gaither6 on any and all the social media platforms. I'll be back next week on another edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.